I unironically think that this is probably the most important video you will ever watch in your life. Everything that I'm gonna say in this video is the culmination of everything I've learned over my life. And it's the result of at least a decade of being very focused on introspection, philosophizing, and working to just understand my own psyche. And through that, I'm obviously, like it's not like my psyche is exactly unique. We're all sharing the same, human experience. So through all of these things that I learned, I also learned to understand other people better. Now I'm gonna tell you, if you're like clicking off this video, or you're just gonna skim over it, or you're just not really paying attention, then all I can really say is I feel bad for you. I recommend you really take time to really let these things that I say go through your head, because I'm probably going to just go over everything very quickly, but that's because I already ingrained all of these things into my mind. So for me, they're not really anything new. And so it might seem like I'm just saying things, or like, but there's just no filler material here. None of what I'm gonna say is any like filler thing. It's really important that you understand this. So with all that being said, let's just get right into it. The very first thing that I want you to understand is that understanding is the most important thing. Like, it is the thing that will determine everything about your life. It will determine everything about who you think yourself to be, what you do, what you feel, what you think, what you believe. It all comes down to understanding. Understanding is what gives rise to your worldview, to your perspective. And everything in your life hinges on your understanding. Your understanding is what determines how you interact with the world. Like, everything, it comes down to understanding. You could say even that a person is a set, is a certain understanding. And by understanding, I don't just mean like whether you understand or not. That's not exactly it, but understand, this word, understanding, more as a way, like one way of interpreting what is happening, everything that is happening. So you've probably heard, for example, people saying like, oh, it's all about how you interpret things. So you just have to think positively. Something can happen and you can interpret it in good ways and bad ways. But here's the thing that nobody says, because they didn't really think it through, and like, they didn't really investigate it further. But personally, this bothered me, because I could see people who are like, oh, just be positive, just think positively, just interpret things positively, because there's always good and bad. For me, it just really bothered me that some people will interpret things well and therefore be positive, and other people will interpret the same situation negatively and just be negative. I'm like, why? Why is this happening? Why are some people sad and other people are happy, even though they have like very similar or even the exact same circumstances, right? What does it really come down to? And so eventually, after like, I don't know how long of investigating this whole thing, that's what it came down to. The understanding, right? So understanding is basically the real way that you interpret things. So instead of interpretation, think a certain way of understanding. That's the way that you will really interpret things. So on a superficial level, you might say, oh, this is good, this is bad, like, oh, let's think positively. But in the end, how you really feel, like authentically on a deep level, it's gonna come down to how you really understand things. And with that being said, the first thing that I really want you to understand after this understanding concept itself is that there is faith and there is fear. There's faith-based emotions and there's fear-based emotions. You can have a faith-based attitude or you can have a fear-based attitude. What I mean by faith-based emotions and fear-based emotions is that faith-based emotions are all the positive things that you want to be feeling, like across the board. Motivation, purpose, discipline comes from that, happiness, joy, love, everything. And fear, it all, like that is what gives rise to all the negative things. When you're feeling lazy and unmotivated and down and sad and depressed, angry, it all comes from fear in some way. Like you might initially think like, oh, okay, like how does being angry, what does that have to do with fear? But it does come from fear. Like even something where you might not initially see it like anger, it comes from fear because it basically is like a reaction based on a understanding that, okay, so this person, what this person is doing to me, for example, this is bad for me. What this person is doing to me is bad for me, or what is happening is bad for me. And then you get angry. You feel like, oh, I'm being treated unfairly or whatever. And this is not good. But really, if you had the faith that everything will turn out well, everything will turn out for the best for you, you wouldn't get angry. You wouldn't care. And really, when I'm talking about this, like caring what other people think, it reminds me of another very important thing that I wasn't actually planning to address in this video, but it is the idea that your emotions are 100% under your control at the end of the day. You might think like, okay, this is the other person's fault, or what is happening is outside of my control. And yeah, that's true. But in the end, how you feel about it is still all up to you, because you are always the final destination for anything that happens. Like everything that is coming into your awareness, it comes through you, right? So it doesn't matter if you're looking through a microscope or if you're walking around in the streets and interacting with people. At the end, everything that happens, it arrives in your awareness. And again, your awareness is basically like what you think in reaction to that, and what you feel, and whatever. It all comes down to how you understand what is happening. So your understanding is what you need to work on. And while we're on that topic, instead of getting upset and angry with people, I mean, of course you're gonna get upset at times, right? Like, don't bash yourself or anything, because no matter what, in the end, you will still be unhappy from time to time. And it's important to have this understanding that no matter what you do, you're going to be unhappy anyway, because if you expect to always be happy, depending on what you think or feel or believe or how you understand things or what you do, then like if you're running around with this understanding, with this expectation, you will always be unhappy, like way more unhappy than if you just realize that, okay, it doesn't really matter what you do or what you think or whatever. There's always this aspect of human life where you're just going to be unhappy. If your wife dies, you're just going to be unhappy. If something shitty happens at work, you're just going to be unhappy, and it doesn't have anything to do with you doing the wrong thing. So this is something that held me back for a long time with what I was doing with my life, because I kept thinking that, okay, if I was doing things right, then I wouldn't be unhappy, which is not true. No matter what you do, no matter what you plan to do, no matter what your outlook is, everybody will still experience these negative emotions. So accept them, embrace them, and work on understanding them rather than trying to avoid bad feelings, because this will never get you anywhere. Now, with that out of the way, I guess third most important thing that you need to understand is that you have to fundamentally be doing what you want. and not what you think you have to do or what you should do. And you might think that this is obvious or something, but I think 99% of you watching this will not be doing what you want, even though you might even be thinking that you're doing what you want. But then you're not, because really you just even like you kind of even lost this concept of actually doing what you want, because this is literally just how do I say, like this is a concept that is not even like, this has been abandoned by society. And why has it been abandoned by society? It's because of this concept that I talked about earlier, faith versus fear. Like basically everybody now is living in fear, and it's like crazy to even think that, oh, like what do you mean you cannot just do whatever you want, like then you're gonna go homeless or something like that. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So even though a lot of people will say that they are doing what they want, they're really still living in this fear-based with this fear-based attitude, where they are like, yeah, okay, I'd rather be doing this, and they are like sort of doing what they want, but not really. They're more like just, okay, yeah, I'd rather this than whatever else. So they're not really following their highest excitement, but yeah, they are just kind of running away from what they don't want, because they think that they have to compromise. They think it's not possible to literally just do whatever you want, because yeah, that's like crazy level, right? And like if you have no plan for how this thing is gonna work out, then oh my god, you know. So most people are afraid of that, and yeah, I want to like point that out really. And I talked about this in other videos, but I'm just not really gonna get too deep into the details in this video. But really, what do I mean when I say do what you really want? It's not hedonism. I'm not saying you should literally just be following whatever impulse, because in fact, that is not gonna make you happy. What you'll find that even if you're successful in the sense that you get to do whatever you want all the time, and you're just basically never doing something that makes you uncomfortable, you will find that that pleasure is in the end quite superficial and lacking meaning. So then the question is, okay, well, what should you do then? What is it that I really want? And of course I cannot tell you, but the philosophy that you should adopt, in my opinion, is to do literally just what is really truly important to you. And when I say that, again, I think that most people will misunderstand this, because they will be like, okay, what is really important to me? Maybe like I really care about the planet, and oh my god, maybe I should have this like grand thing, and maybe I should be an entrepreneur. Like, yeah, that's what's really important. Like, no, forget about some like grand vision that you're pulling out of your ass, because that is not what's really important to you. What's really important to you in this moment is gonna be quite obvious if you just let it be what it is, right? Like, it doesn't have to be something grandiose. If it is, then of course that's fine. But you have to just let it be whatever it is, and no matter how big or small that is. Like, if you're just kind of whatever, you don't care about anything right now, and you just want to get into some relationships, then you just do that, you know. And for me, that was kind of what I was doing my like late teens, and I don't know, like until, I mean, I'm 27 now, and I was just kind of focused on my relationships, at least until like 25 or something, I don't know. And I was just figuring myself out, and yeah, just pursuing the relationships that I wanted, because for me, that was what was fulfilling. And so it really doesn't matter if it's like shallow or deep. Just take it for whatever it is. Just do what is really, what you feel is truly important to you. And you will know what is truly important to you. Like, you will feel like there's something important that you want to do, right? if not, then the most important thing you should focus on is to figure out what you really want. You work on understanding again. Understand yourself and what is really important to you. Just think about your life and what you really want and follow that, whatever it is. And no matter if you think it will lead you somewhere or whatever, you know, like this is again where faith comes in. Because anyway, you know, what's important to you will change over time and you cannot really predict it like that. So there's another reason why, you know, you have to let go of your fear and just pursue what is really actually important to you, rather than being caught up in all the fears of like, okay, what about my money? Like, what about this and that? Like, okay, will I ever like meet the right person for me, or whatever. Like whatever fears you have to really put them to the side and just pursue what is really important to you, because you're either gonna live in fear or you're gonna live based on faith. And the thing with fear is the treadmill of fear never stops. Like you think that, okay, if I can run away from this fear, then at some point I'm gonna get to safety and then everything will be good. But that's a complete lie. You will always, like, either you're running away from something or you have faith and you actually pursue what you really want. This is something that other people kind of talk about. They are putting it in this way of like positive versus negative motivation, where positive motivation is you are going off after what you want and you're looking forward to that, and therefore like looking forward to the day-to-day activities and seeing purpose in the day-to-day things that you have to do, even though they might not be all pleasant all the time, or it might be like tedious or whatever. But if you're going after what you want and, you know, your life is oriented like that, then, you know, you will see meaning and you will get a kind of steady stream of lasting joy from moving towards what you want. But if you're running away from what you don't want, that will never end. And the thing is, even if you crash at some point because you burn out or whatever, and then you fall down to rock bottom, there's going to be more and more things for you to be afraid of. So, you know, like maybe you're afraid of going broke, and then you finally go broke because you burned out or whatever. And then you're going to be afraid of being homeless, and then you're going to be running away from that. But it's just no way to live your life, and you will never enjoy your life. And again, people justify this because they think, okay, but once I get to this certain point in my life, then everything will be good, everything will be better, and then I will be happy, and I will enjoy what I'm doing, and I will get to do what I want. But again, that's not true, because your life will always be uncertain. There will always be these aspects of uncertainty and doubt and fear. It doesn't matter if you get rich or whatever you do. You will always be dealing with these same issues, the same fear-based emotions that you're confronted with now. So for example, if you're afraid of not having enough money, then even though you become the CEO of a huge company and you have all these investments and stuff, and again, like, I mean, just look at people, right? There's been enough successful people who unalive themselves and whatever, you know, rich people who are hoarding their stuff. It doesn't stop. You will still feel insecure about your money and feel like you don't have enough, and feeling like you have to work and you're not free to do what you want. It doesn't stop. It only stops when you decide to get off of the treadmill of fear and instead live based on faith that things will be okay and you can do what you want. So again, just focus on whatever is important to you right now and pursue that. And that will take care of everything. That's like where your purpose is, where your motivation will come from to stick through the bad times and everything. And if you don't know what's important to you, then the most important thing is to just work on understanding that. Work on understanding, okay, what is really important to me? Become present, feel into your body, and really just, you know, take the time to think about that. like maybe it's worth mentioning at this point. I'll try to keep it short, but like, a lot of people will kind of be like, oh, you're wasting time by just sitting around thinking. You're really not. Think about what is really important to you. Focus on that. And to give you a tip, before you think, feel. Feel what is in your body. Feel like whatever, feelings that you have, because those will point you in the right direction before you start thinking. If you just think without feeling, then you're just kind of gonna be in la la land, and you're gonna be like making up all these kind of grandiose things that are completely disconnected from who you really are and what you really feel, you know? So yeah, don't just be only thinking, also feel. Feel first and then think. Now at this point, I'm gonna give you my personal opinion and say that I think that the most important thing in life is spirituality, because aside from your own soul, everything will end. You're not gonna be getting to keep anything in the world. All the happiness that you're finding in the world is gonna be impermanent, right? The only thing that you can hope to take with you in the end is your own soul. Other than that, yeah, kind of, if you ask me, kind of pointless. I mean, not pointless, obviously. It's great to have a good time, but to kind of finish off this philosophy, you have people who are like, chasing success, and then you have people who are kind of being lazy or hedonistic or whatever, and both of them will not really be happy, because in their own way they are just kind of ignoring themselves, right? The one group thinks, okay, if I can be successful, then I will be happy. And the other group thinks that if I can avoid all the things that I don't want to do, then I will be happy. But what they're both missing is just their own soul. And, just really, they're not understanding themselves. They are ignoring themselves. They are ignoring their feelings and their true thoughts. So what spirituality is really about is doing exactly this work to understand yourself, to find out what's really important to you, and to just continually work more and more on your understanding of yourself and the world, how you see everything. Because in the end, this is the only thing that you can hope to keep in the end. So, whatever you do, whether it be like introspecting or doing things in the world, I think that no matter what you do, it kind of still goes back to your soul, right? Like, obviously, you're gonna learn things either way. And my cat is coming. Okay, it's distracting me. Yeah, anyway, I think that no matter what you do, in the end, you're gonna come back to yourself and realize that, okay, success isn't making me happy, hedonism isn't gonna make me happy. And then at some point in your journey, naturally, you're kind of gonna come back to, yourself and spirituality, and trying to find fulfillment in yourself rather than in the world. But don't worry about that. Just do what's important to you, and that is your path. Moving on from that, very important thing you need to understand is, do not try to overcome yourself or your problems. When you're doing that, that is just a sign that you're confused. Because in the end, if you really understood yourself and what you want, then you wouldn't have to deal with whatever issues that you're dealing with. Like, maybe you're like, okay, I'm feeling unmotivated all the time, and then you're looking up, okay, how to stop being lazy or whatever. These things, you can hear purring, that's my cat. These things, they are stemming from the core issue that you don't really understand yourself, and you're ignoring yourself. So rather than trying to overcome your issues, try to understand, like, aim to really understand, like, okay, why am I feeling this way? What am I afraid of, or why am I feeling unmotivated? And very key, like, don't do that understanding to try to fix yourself, but instead just understand, like, see it as a sign that, okay, something, like, some part of me is not on board with this, whatever that you think you want to do, right? And this is like the mindset that most people fall into. And I mean, that's what I was also taught. Like, we're not taught any better. It's that, okay, here's what you should do, and then you're following that imperative without questioning it. And then when something comes up inside you that is keeping you from following that, instead of saying, okay, wait a minute, that must mean that like I don't really want it, and like questioning that and then trying to understand yourself, instead of doing that, most people are like, okay, how do I fix this? How do I stop being lazy? How do I stop being this and that, right? Which is again, like, this is completely the wrong mindset, where you're just ignoring yourself, you're ignoring your own soul. And instead of living authentically and working to understand, like, okay, why do I feel this way? And being really curious about that, people instead are just like judging themselves and like, okay, I'm too lazy, I'm too this, I'm too that, and trying to fix it through some superficial technique or whatever. Don't do that. Aim to understand. Always aim to understand. Because through that understanding, you will really fix the problem in a lasting way. And only if you understand. If you don't really understand why you feel the way that you do, then you're never really going to make the lasting change that you want. And this kind of comes back again to like the fear-based way of living that most people are under. Like, I mean, the fear-based attitude that most people are taking, where they're like, okay, but what if I find out that I don't care about this? Oh no. And then I'm just gonna be lazy forever and people are gonna judge me and I'm gonna be a loser. It's like, dude, if you don't care, then you don't care. So what? Like, I'm kind of speaking from my own experience, because even though I was never really that bought into all the shit that people taught me, there was still this aspect of me which was like trying to be successful or become somebody, and being afraid of being a loser in the end, instead of just realizing that, okay, well, if I don't want to do it, then what am I getting out of it? Like, I don't care, so what? You just take that for what it is. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of in the end, because if you just focus on understanding, it doesn't matter if in the end you're going to make the change that you thought you wanted to make, or if you don't. Like, let's say I'm trying to figure out, okay, why am I too lazy to consistently work on this e-commerce business or something? And then you work on understanding yourself and you find out, oh, okay, it's because of this and that. This was holding me back. Okay, cool. And then you work consistently on the e-commerce business and everything is fine. Or you find out, oh, well, actually, I don't care at all about this. I want to do something completely different. What did you lose? You didn't lose anything. Like, people are so afraid of changing who they are, because when you're working on just understanding yourself, it's kind of unpredictable. But again, people are not allowing themselves to live. They're not really doing what they want. Instead, they're obsessed with some idea of who they should be. And even if you think that this is your own idea, if you don't feel like it, then that is your sign that that is not true. That is not what you want. Because if you really wanted it, if you were completely on board with it, you wouldn't feel all of this resistance that you have. I mean, of course, that's not to say that you're always going to be at ease and relaxed and feeling no fear or anything. Yeah, of course, some things are going to be a little bit tedious, or they could be scary or uncomfortable or whatever. But in the end, if you do not have the conviction to say, okay, yeah, fuck these feelings and I'm going to do it anyway, and you're really just really struggling with continuing in this direction, that's your sign that this is not really what you want. This is not really what you care about. This is not really what's important to you. But generally speaking, this is the recipe, This is how you're actually living a fulfilled life, where you're feeling the purpose and that joy and happiness and all these things, like you're feeling in alignment with who you truly are and what you really want out of life. And so this is how you do it. This is how you feel like yourself and live the life that is really authentic to you, and the way that you get to enjoy that now. Like, of course, you know, you're gonna have good days and bad days. This doesn't take away from any of that. Your life is still gonna be hard, and all these things. Again, like for like more details about all of these concepts, I talk about them in a bunch of my other videos. So you can check those out. But this is basically what it comes down to, right? So that rather than either like living hedonistically or pursuing some superficial success that you don't really care about, thinking that, okay, once I get there, then I can live, you know, that's not the way. That's definitely not the way, I can tell you. Because you're gonna, no matter what your goals are, if you're not really feeling aligned right now, if you're not feeling like, okay, I'm on my path, if you don't feel like that right now, then it's your success in whatever area that you're pursuing it is not going to change that. It's going to stay the same, because those fear-based emotions, you know, you need to work on them anyway. Whatever unhappy emotions you're feeling right now, you're still going to feel them when you get there. It will just level up to the next, you know, it will just go to the next level. If you're, again, like if you're with the money example, if you're feeling, okay, I'm scared of going broke, becoming homeless or whatever, then you're still gonna have that fear, even though you become a CEO or whatever, because now instead of fearing that you lose your job, you're gonna fear losing your investments or that your company will crash. You know, those feelings will always persist. So that's why you have to work on understanding yourself rather than trying to fix your problems. There's always going to be more problems. You have to live. You have to just focus on the good thing and have faith that things will work out, you know? So yeah, don't let those fear-based emotions hold you back. Don't let shame, guilt, all these things, you know, they're not helping anyone. But I'm not going to get into it now in more detail. Again, you can check out my other videos. Life won't be better once you get all these things that you think you want or need. But instead, life will be better once you make this mindset shift to, instead of living hedonistically and indulging in whatever things to try to escape your fears, or just living day to day and checking off things from your to-do list in the hopes that it will get you somewhere, to some place where your problems magically don't exist anymore. That place doesn't exist. It's never gonna happen. Like, that's not the way. You have to make the change to living based on faith. Life will be better once you have the courage to simply live, focusing on the things that are truly important to you rather than running away from what you don't want. If this helped you, let me know, leave a like. And if you have any questions that you think I can help you with, let me know in the comments. I will read all of them. And other than that, take care and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.